The trenches, where games aren't just played, they're conquered. Where bodies collide with the force of two pickup trucks at full throttle. Every snap is war. Every rep is survival. Their mission? Erase the man across from you, by any means necessary. The spotlight rarely hits them, but they don't care. They live in the chaos. They thrive in violence. They carry the weight of an entire team, dragging victory out of the mud with their bare hands. This is Trench Talk.
Welcome into Trench Talk on Nickel City Mafia. My name is Sean Kula, and I am a trench fanatic. I played center for 2 years, as well as defensive end in my 6 years of playing football. As a lifelong learner, I know that not everything I say is going to be the gospel or is meant to be the gospel. I'm always willing to learn and enhance my scope on the game. In this show, we will go in depth about offensive line play, defensive line play with objectivity, and I'll be using film prior to our discussions. So without further ado, we're going to talk about Ed Oliver today and the misconception of he doesn't do enough or he's super great. But mainly what I've been seeing is he's not worth it. He's not that good. He's overhyped. He needs someone else for him to be successful. And what we're going to do, I'm going to go through from 2019 to current, all the stats of Ed Oliver. We're going to discuss them, but I'm also going to get into what a defensive tackle is, some of the main objectives, and just what I've noticed in my years of learning football and playing football. So first, we'll get into the defensive tackle discussion. And just like offensive line, I understand when you look at trench play, it's never the most well talked about position. Go back to high school. I like using this analogy. When homecoming came around, or when games were coming around where you had to pass your jersey on to a female or to whoever, nobody asked, "Oh, who's got the left tackle's jersey? Who's got the defensive tackle's jersey?" Usually their moms wore them, or maybe if they had a girlfriend. But they're always looking for the receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks, etc. So even at a young age, trench play isn't looked at through a huge to a huge scope where you really get into detail about it. And even in the NFL, it's just, how did you give up a sack? Or, did you get a tackle? Or did you get a sack? And I don't mean this with any disrespect whatsoever, because there's nothing wrong with being a fan of the game where you didn't play the sport. I'm not going to use the word casual fan because there's a disrespectful connotation to that to some people. So if you haven't played and understand the trench play and you're just watching as a fan who loves a game of football, you might not understand the inner workings of a defensive tackle or how an offensive lineman actually did on a certain rep. Because how would you know that if you never really got into it? Again, there's no disrespect towards that at all. And again, I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just going to talk about what I know, what I see, and I'm always willing to learn. And whenever we talk about a discussion on this show, always say what you feel. And I want to spark discussion. I'm not going to. My goal isn't to be right. My goal is to show what I think and then have more conversations with people who love the game of football. So, defensive tackle. Guys like Aaron Donald and Chris Jones kind of ruin the position for a lot of people who just watch the game of football because they love it. And they see these guys get 10-plus sacks every year, Aaron Donald, or someone like Chris Jones who could play D-tackle, defensive end, 3-tech, 5-tech, 1, everything. He could play all across the line. And sometimes he gets 10-plus sacks. So everyone thinks, every defensive tackle should be doing that. When in all reality, a defensive tackle, his main duty is to control the line of scrimmage. And when I say control the line of scrimmage, I mean when the ball is hiked to the quarterback and you engage in the block, he needs to be surveying and scanning the backfield to see, do I got to shed this guy off this way so I can get the running back? Or do I have to make sure my butt is towards this A gap or this side of the A gap so I can have the linebacker come across this other side of the A gap to make the tackle? Or can I rush the passer? So when you watch guys like Ed Oliver play, it's really important to watch how he's doing controlling the line of scrimmage. Is he getting pushed back a lot? Is he on the line of scrimmage the entire time? Is he surveying the backfield so he can make a read to see what he has to do? Because defensive tackles and a little bit defensive end, mainly defensive tackles, they're the enforcer on the defense because they're setting up so the linebackers and the guys behind them can make the plays. Now, when we play nickel, it's a little bit tough because you only got 2 linebackers and you got 5 defensive backs who are not necessarily the best at tackling. So if the linebackers don't fill the correct way, people might assume, oh, it's the defensive line's fault why they can't stop the run. I'm not saying that's how it is all the time, but I had a good friend played defensive tackle in college, and he set a record for his school for most sacks in a game for any position. So he had 4.5. And I asked him just plainly, hey, man, I want to do a topic of discussion. What is the main duty of a defensive tackle? I just wanted to see what his point of view was because he played it his entire life. And he said, basically, just control the line of scrimmage. So that's coming from someone who played at a collegiate level, played at a high level, and his opinion on the position that he succeeded at very well was control the line of scrimmage. And he broke the record for sacks in a single game in his school. And it wasn't sacks, tackles. Those are all obviously important. But the main duty, control the line of scrimmage, control your block, and really the cool thing about defensive tackle is you may be getting blocked, but you're setting up for your guys behind you. So if the guard that's blocking the defensive tackle wants to get up to the second level to block the linebackers, if the defensive tackle can not hold on to the guy, but engage in the block longer, that'll make it so it's one-on-one with the running back and the linebacker. So there's so many more little things that defensive tackles have to do to make sure that everything is going properly. And it's not just on our defensive tackles for the defense to work well. If they're doing their job, it's very possible that the people behind them aren't doing theirs. So it's that part's very important, and I really wanted to get that out of the way. That controlling the line of scrimmage, as simple as it may seem, it's extremely important for everything. And it may look like he's not doing anything sometimes, but his job is controlling the line of scrimmage and setting up for the guys behind him. And I encourage people that are maybe, even if you are high on Ed Oliver or if you think he's not worth it, when this year comes around, really watch him play controlling the line of scrimmage, how he responds to blocks, how he sets up for the guys behind him, how he works his hands, how he works his feet, his eyes always in the backfield, looking for what he can do. That's the most important part to me. Now, you got anomaly seasons where even guys like Chris Jones have a crap ton of sacks, but then he comes down back to below double digits. Quinnen Williams one year had 15 sacks and then went down to like 2 the following year. Ed Oliver had the 9.5 that one year, and then he had 3 or 4 the next year. So sometimes they can work out where they have a lot of sacks, but it's not a guarantee, and it's also not the most important thing. And when we get into the stats and where he's ranked, you guys will see that. So just to wrap that up, really focus on what Ed Oliver does. And one thing I also wanted to add to wrap it up, as far as running the nickel defense, your 3 tech is the more athletic, the more versatile defensive tackle, obviously. And the 1 technique is supposed to be the double team space eater type guy. Now, it was a very small sample size, but I looked, it was the first 5 weeks is what I could find, double team rate for defensive tackles. And on the list for us, I found Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, and Dwayne Carter. You might be surprised to know that the true 1 tech, Daquan Jones, was double teamed the least out of the 3, a rookie Dwayne Carter and Ed Oliver. And that's not how it's supposed to be. The 3 tech should not be getting the double team. So what I've been saying for years about Daquan Jones is he's just not that guy right now. And if he's not that feared 1 tech where he needs to have double teams, and Ed Oliver has to be the 3 tech, also getting blocked like a 1 tech, and still contributing and doing everything he has to do, people aren't going to see that as, oh, he's doing way more than he's supposed to have on his plate. They look at it as, oh, his stats went down from last year. and it all turns in just about stats. But that was the beginning of the discussion. Now we're going to start with 2019, and all this stuff is from PFF. Again, I know how a lot of people think about it, and there's going to be might be some questions, and I'll just start with they don't count half sacks as half; they count them as full. So you're going to see he's going to have a more than what he actually had. But the reason why I didn't bother to change it is because everyone in the NFL sacks are like that according to PFF. So his rankings aren't going to change based off of if it was a half or a full, because everyone else got graded the same way. So here we go. 2019 at Oliver's rookie year. He had a overall grade of 66. I'm going to start with everything is going to be ranked off of this year. In 2019, there was 202 qualified defensive tackles. So every number I read is based off of 202 for this year, 2019. He was an overall grade of 66, which was 87th out of 202. He had a pass rush grade of 63, which was 71st. He had a run defense grade of 64, which was 97th. Solo tackles, he had 22, which was ranked 50. 6 sacks, again, the halves, give or take. He had 6, but was ranked 14th as a rookie. So, again, just want to pause quick. In this year, in his rookie year, he had the 6 sacks. Again, it was probably like 4.5 or 3.5. I don't know exactly what, but this is what PFF said. And it was ranked 14th out of 202. So top 15 was 6 sacks, but it was probably less because of the half stuff. I think he maybe had 4.5 or 5 or 5.5. Well, the half sack count as the full. So that's something to think about. For the people that think it's all about sacks, that was still ranked 14th, and it's only 6. He had 1 forced fumble, ranked 9th. He had 29 total pressures, which was ranked 29th. 5 quarterback hits, ranked 29th. 21 run stops, which was ranked 43rd. And he did that on 557 snaps, which was 43rd. So for a rookie year, I say that was pretty solid. Maybe give it depending on what your expectation was of him being the 9th overall pick, but just how he played in the defense, in the system, I think that's a solid year for a rookie. I'd probably give it a B-, and I think that's fair. Now, 2020, it went up to 214 qualifying players. And this was probably his worst overall year out of all of them, but still, there were some good moments. So his overall PFF grade was a 48, which was 168th, not that good. Pass rush grade, phenomenal, 75, was ranked 26th. Then he had a run defense grade of 30, which was 207th, which was very poor. 23 solo tackles, ranked 44th. 3 sacks, so could have been 2.5 or whatever, but 3, ranked 32nd. So 3 sacks was 30th out of 214, basically. And again, that's not a lot, but if you could get a guy in the top 30, that's pretty good, right? Or a top 35. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing to lift your nose up at. So again, just proving that it's not all about big sack numbers. His forced fumbles, he had another 1, ranked 9th again. His pressures went up to 35, which was ranked 20th. And quarterback hits was 4th, ranked 34th. 20 run stops, 41st. And he did that on 578 snaps, which is a little bit up from 2019. And that was ranked 37th. So 2 years, pretty solid. I would say maybe that one was a C-, but some of his things like pressures went up. His stops went up, or his stops went down 1, but his tackles went up. His pass rush grade went up. So he was improving. And again, as well as controlling the line of scrimmage, pushing the pocket is also important, and his pressures have gone up and up. So now let's go to 2021. He really ramped it up this year. He had overall, and this is out of 224 defensive tackles. A 72 overall grade, which was 27th. Another pass rush grade of 74, which was 26th. Run defense went up to a 59, 66 overall. He had 30 solo tackles, which went up. 39th, 5 sacks, which was ranked 19th, another forced fumble, ranked 9th again, because not many people get forced fumbles. He had 40 pressures, so his pressures increased from that 2020 year, which was ranked 18th. 11 quarterback hits, ranked 2nd. Outstanding. 31 run stops, which went up significant, 17th. And he did that on 622 snaps. So that also increased, and that was ranked 30th. So I think I'll give him a B plus to an A minus on that year. I think that was a really good year. Overall grade was great. Pass rush grade was still in the mid 70s, basically. His run defense went up almost 30 points. Pressures were high. Hits was incredible, and his stops went up. So I would say that was probably an A minus. Now we're going to get to the most recent. Switch this up. 2022. This was out of 221 available players to qualify. 69 overall grade, 43rd, 63 pass rush grade, 70th. Run defense went up to a 69, which was 33rd. 23 solo tackles, so it went down a bit, but still ranked 58th. 4 sacks, ranked 28th. Another forced fumble, ranked 8th. 31 pressures, 31st. 11 quarterback hits again, so back-to-back double-digit quarterback hits, 7th. 19 run stops, so that went down a tad. 56 on 526 snaps. So this was the year that we played LA week 1, and he had a sack and a half in the game, and he got hurt. So, and you can see that his snaps went from 622 to 526, almost 100 less. So this was the year he got hurt, and he still produced pretty well. Some things went down, but also his snap count went down, and he was battling through an injury. And you know how I feel about people that battle through injuries. If you don't perform to the quality that you're able to, I have to judge you off that. So I would say B minus for that year, even though it was a pretty decent year. Now, 2023 was a statistical type breakout year, and this is out of 215 qualifying players. Overall grade of a 68, which was 45th. 75 pass rush, so he's been consistent around mid-70s for pass rush, 28th. 55 run defense, which was 100th, not that great. 32 solo tackles, ranked 25th. Now the 11 sacks, I know he had 9.5 that year, so 9.5, but that was ranked 3rd. No forced fumbles that year. He had 65 pressures, so that was absolutely insane. That was ranked 4th. So I think guys like Dexter Lawrence and Quentin Williams were above him in that. 6 quarterback hits was 31st. Now get this, 730 snaps. So I think it makes sense, and it correlates with his biggest statistical season came with his biggest snap count. Now, the year he was hurt, he had 526. So he went up over 200 snaps that year, and he produced phenomenally. So do we need to give him more snap count? We're gonna see what happened in 2024. But honestly, that's an A+ year, and I thought he could have been an All-Pro that year. But unfortunately, guys like Quentin Williams and Dexter Lawrence and Chris Jones were absolutely outstanding that year as well. So it didn't work out for him. But this was the year after he got paid too. So again, just outstanding play. And then this most recent year, this was all ranked out of 219. He had an overall grade of 71, ranked 25th. A pass rush grade of 79, ranked 9th. A run defense grade of 44, not good, 161. Solo tackles, 15. That went down significantly, 88th. 3 sacks, ranked 43rd. So still ranked in top 45. Excuse me. 2 forced fumbles, which was ranked 1st. 39 pressures, which is pretty solid, ranked 20th. 10 quarterback hits, 11th. 15 run stops, which was 75th. And on only 603 snaps. So he went from 730 down to 603 without being hurt. So that year, I see probably a B+. And again, PFF isn't everything. These are just facts and statistics that we can't argue with. And I just wanted to paint the picture. You know, Mike had the idea, and I probably should have done it, but seeing the percentage. So, like, if he's ranked 25th out of 219, what percent of the league is that? And that was a great point, and I probably should have did that. But I just wanted to read it like this, so it's more. So when everyone looks at it, they're like, "Oh, that's still really good," considering I thought it was all about sacks and tackles. And now again, the PFF grading system is different for everyone, and I'm wondering if because we run our defense, and Oliver has the pressure of basically playing two jobs at once, if that affects his grades as far as run defense. And to be fair, his main thing was never run defense. He can do it, but his bread and butter was pass rushing. So as you saw with his pass rush grade being 74, 75, 75, 79, he had a couple years where it was mid 60s, but that's where he's most consistent at. His pressures are all pretty good. His hits and sacks are always in a he never been out of the top 50 from what we read. And I just, again, it's not all about statistics, but looking at this, I don't get where people get that he's not worth it. And I know 9th overall pick, you expect this, you expect that. However, if you just look at him for the player that he's been, not the draft pick he was, and what he's meant to this team and the defense, I think we could all come to the conclusion that, yeah, he's not the best defensive tackle in the league, but he's also not middle of the pack. He's probably like, I would say guys like Chris Jones, obviously, Dexter Lawrence, Quinnen Williams, Vita Vea, and then I would argue at Oliver maybe between 5th and 8th. Maybe that could be another show where I can do the top 10 defensive tackles in the league. But I'm pretty firm on the top 3: Jones, Lawrence, and Quinnen Williams. That's who. Drafted in the same year, 3rd overall as Ed Oliver. Dexter Lawrence was drafted after Ed Oliver, but they're two totally different makeups. So he's like 360, one tech. We don't play one techs like that for some reason. So different player, but if we drafted Dexter Lawrence, it just wouldn't have fit because that's not how we play our defense, unfortunately. Hopefully we can move towards that and do something where we have a bigger one tech. Like I wanted Tavondre Sweat. We stick with guys like Daquan Jones. And now they want to move Dwayne Carter to a one tech, and I don't like that. But yeah, so overall, with the statistics that were read, I would say Ed Oliver is probably between 5 and 9, 5 and 8, 5 and 10 defensive tackles in this league. And I think he does so much for this team. And when you look at it as controlling the line of scrimmage, pushing the pocket, setting up the players behind you, the linebackers and the nickel corner, the other corners to make plays, I think if you watch him play, just him, when you're watching I know it's hard because you just want to watch the whole game, but I encourage the people that aren't as high on Ed Oliver as most people to take a few games and just watch him only and see how he's using his hands, using his feet, using his eyes. That's the literally most important part, is using your eyes in the backfield, controlling that line of scrimmage. And if you get to the quarterback, that's a bonus. If you make the tackles, that's a bonus. But if you're seeing Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard getting 15 tackles in the game and a lot of them are stopping the run, that's credit to the guys up front. So, yeah, Ed Oliver, man, I've loved watching him since we first got him. I think it hurt people's image of him when he got drafted 9th and he's not getting Aaron Donald numbers. But I just encourage people, draft stock, draft number really doesn't matter when it comes to players, because you see people like Brock Purdy, last pick in the draft, outperformed quarterbacks that got drafted in the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. So, yeah, Ed Oliver got drafted 9th, and maybe you expect more statistics from him, but look how we have our defense. Notice how when players leave this defense, they always produce. Guys like Tim Settle, Jefferson, he came back but went to the Jets, had a breakout year, came back to the Bills, didn't really do nothing. I know Jordan Phillips came back and didn't do much, but there's always exceptions to the rule. So I really encourage people to get behind Ed Oliver, understand that he's doing a lot for this defense. He has a lot on his plate due to the fact that he's also being getting blocked like a one tech as a 3 tech. And yeah, he's undersized, But he's still 290 pounds, and he's quick, and he's got great feet, great speed, and he's great at rushing the passer. He's a huge asset. I've also, a lot of people I respect, I've heard say possibly TJ Sanders is Ed Oliver's replacement. Now, I would just argue I would not want to get rid of Ed Oliver, even though his contract allows us to be able to do that next year. He's too valuable of a piece on our defense to move on from because of TJ Sanders. Now, could you maybe move TJ Sanders to be a one tech because of his pass rush ability and his size? Possibly. But we'll see from here on out. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this first inaugural episode of Trench Talk. I really appreciate it. Going forward, once the season starts, we're going to talk about every week. We're going to have slides about every offensive lineman, all their stats, highlights of what they did, mistakes that they made, things they can do better the next week. And then same thing with defensive line. Everybody that plays is going to be talked about, graded. And then maybe between now and then, we're going to talk about anything you guys have a topic of. Oh, how about this player or this guy or just anything about trenches? I'm more than willing to talk about. And I'm really looking forward to do this the entire season. Thanks to Mike from Nickel City Mafia to bringing me on full time. It's always been fun to work with him for the last 3 years. Appreciate you guys. Hit the nickel on that subscribe button, like the video, share it out, and please comment. And let's have some discussions about the trenches. Go Bills. Take care.